The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What's happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And on the phone line is a guy that I only got to hang out with once in Cleveland. But we had a very deep conversation at Harry Buffalo in Lakewood. Comedian Tony Mazur is on Hoppe Hour. What's up, dude?
I feel weird about the comedian label. Like, it's just so weird. Like, I'm always used to a radio guy, not like, hey, he's a comedian. I feel like I need to achieve something, like get more than $25 at a comedy gig.
What do you need to achieve? What is your dream goal, Tony Mazur? To be Chad Zumock? What is your dream?
Boy, if I could be Chad Zumock, that'd be wonderful. I can guest host on Bob and Tom and do the same gigs that Tony Mazur is doing, apparently.
How has everything been, dude? Because I remember I was going through some down times back in March, and you hit me up, and you're like, hey, man, let's get a beer. So we talked for about an hour and a half about life in radio at Harry Buffalo, right down the block from where I lived in Lakewood. And I just remember your talk was kind of the turning point of when I got off of my ass and I quit feeling bad for myself after what happened. And I was like, okay, this guy has the drive. This guy is applying for jobs. Why am I watching Breaking Bad on Netflix? I need to get off my ass. And then I did. So I feel like our talk was when we bonded, and even though we didn't hang out a lot, I've always liked what you've done, dude.
Well, I appreciate that. It's I think the turning point for you is realizing that I was just a miserable 27-year-old bastard who had no job and no life, nothing to do with himself, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be that. I'm going to do something with my life.
It was weird, though. It was the most depressing conversation because you're talking about how you can't find a radio job and all you do is work out. And I'm talking about how I lost my radio job and all I do is eat and jack off. It was the saddest conversation. And you're just eating your burger. I was so broke that I couldn't buy a burger. So I'm just watching you eat. I just remember it was the worst time for both of us, dude.
Yeah, it was a pretty down period. I had just come back from Florida from vacation that I couldn't afford. And I'm coming up and, I was talking to you. I was driving through Charlotte at friggin' 3:30 in the morning. And I was Facebook messaging you about something like, hey, let's get together and let's grab a drink. And you're like, no, I'm not drinking right now. I'm like, all right, well, then let's get food then. So, I mean, think about how much everything has changed. I mean, you moved from, living in Lakewood and having a part-time, not so glamorous job at a Clear Channel station in Cleveland. You're working down in Tampa, and I live the lavish life of morning radio in Akron, Ohio. So that's
you have a radio job. Don't ever downplay it. You have a radio job. A lot of people at radio schools would want the job you have, dude. I mean, I know it's not like a exciting town, but you have to give yourself credit, dude. You have a radio job. You know what I mean?
Well, it's cool. Like, I get a chance. I work at WAKR in Akron. I do some stuff on the classic rock station, which is WONE. I cover the Browns for them. So, I mean, I'm making more money than I have when I worked at CBS Radio, thank God. And I work for a local company, too, one that believes in the First Amendment and believes in creativity and doesn't just cut salary based on who you know and, who they think is an asshole behind the scenes or whatever.
Yeah, man, it is weird how when I went into Cleveland radio, I was so pumped and I was so hyper, man. I was almost too hyper, and that's what led to my demise. And what I think it was, dude, was I just had trust in everybody, and you were 6 years older than me, and you were saying to me at Harry Buffalo when you were eating your burger in front of me and I was hungry, you were saying you need to watch out for yourself and pick who you trust. And to me, that was the demise, was that I had trust in everybody, and you need to realize that a lot of people only care about themselves and the material of their show, which is why I'm happy to be in Tampa. Is they don't exploit you, and it's creative radio down here. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what the difference is Cleveland. I guess kind of like Chicago, but Chicago is it's a different. By the way, do you pronounce it Chicago or Chicago?
Let's see. I pronounce it Chicago, so I guess.
Okay, because my mom's from Joliet, and she's like, no, it's Chicago, it's awe, and I'm like, no one pronounces it like that.
I do.
But that's the thing is in Cleveland, it's the same people, the same dinosaurs have been on TV and the newspapers and radio for 40, 50 years, and they're the same people that it's a good old boys network, and you got to get in there. Tampa, and this is the same thing about with the Tampa Bay Rays, and, the Miami Marlins. Everyone's like, well, they don't have fans, and it's like, okay, well, no one who lives in Tampa is actually from Tampa.
Yeah.
And if you're from Chicago, like you're a White Sox fan, right?
No, I'm a Cubs fan, obviously, bro.
I don't know. Jesus. It's like, are you going to give up your allegiance to Chicago sports just because you moved to Tampa and you're going to become a Rays fan? Or are you going to still root for the Bulls and root for the Bears and all these other shitty teams that are out there? Of course you're going to do that. I'm from Cleveland. I'll still cheer on the Browns. I'll still cheer on the Cavs and whatever. If I lived in Tampa, I lived in Miami, I'd still do that. That's why. No one from Florida is actually from Florida. And it made sense. So when everyone's like, oh, no one, the Rays don't draw. Of course they don't draw. Nobody cares.
Here's what I'll say about Tampa Bay. Here's what I'll say about the sports fans. It's so diverse because you have the Rays on the other side of the bridge, basically so far from Clearwater, Tampa. So you have it on one side. It would be like having the Indians in Akron, and then you have everything else in Cleveland. So that doesn't help that everything's in downtown Tampa, and then you have the Rays on the other side of the bridge. And then the other thing is, I've heard it's because the Buccaneers are good one year and then they're bad the other years, that fans don't really draw. So it's just weird, dude. Like, I would say they're decent fans. I thought going in, just because I would watch Rays games and no one's there, I judged them. They're good fans. It's just, it's such a transplant area and it's such a big market with the bridges that I think it just gets lost in confusion. But I do think Miami fans are just a bunch of clubbers. That's where it becomes bandwagon territory, is when you go to South Beach.
Of course it is. I mean, it's basically the Jersey Shore with, more tan douchebags, I guess. Like actual tans, and not...
You know what else I remember from my downtime when I was unemployed was the fact that, like, watching porn becomes sad because you're like, I'm laying on my couch, I'm not with a girl, and I need to find a job. You know what I mean? It just... You feel like a loser. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. You've seen when you've seen all the porn you need to see is when you're watching a video of two dwarf porn stars repeatedly headbutt a guy in a jam bag, and you don't turn it off. If you don't turn it off, that is, I mean, that's when you know you've seen everything on the internet, and you just have to just turn it off. And I don't know, go to confession or something. I'm not sure. Maybe
Dude,
communion.
It's weird. All my interviews end up being about porn. So I've talked about this before, but it's weird how, like, once I'm done with the act, like, don't you feel kind of bad? Like, the screen's not closed yet because you have to grab your hand and close the screen. But isn't it weird after you're done watching, you're like, oh, they're having sex and I'm not. Like, don't you kind of feel bad for the girl? Like, there's this term, I don't remember what it is, but it's like when you bang a girl that you're not attracted to, you just feel bad right after you reach the top of the mountain. Do you have that?
Well, yeah. And especially when you're watching porn. Like I can't even, it's weird. I can't even watch the hardcore stuff. I used to go on this one site called The Hun. And, you download all this stuff from The Hun, and it's like, oh, just the worst kind of porn. And you're just going like, who jerks off to this? And it's like, yeah, I'm going to save this in the favorites. Now it's like with me, I get more turned on watching like an R-rated movie.
Same.
Like if I can see Anne Hathaway showing cleavage, that's like better than watching some dumb bitch who's in a porn movie just bending over to, you like my ass? You like my pussy? Yeah, I like your fucking pussy. You want to do that? Like, really? It's like, I can't even get with that.
My favorite part is just the acting is so bad. And, like, they have an emphasis on the acting. Like, I'll watch, like, Showtime or Cinemax, and there's, like, an actual script. It's like, okay, where's the banging part? Like, why are we even acting? Dude, it's weird.
I met when I was 18. I was old enough to go to some of these like adult video stores, and I go to these places, and I got a chance to meet like Tara Patrick, Jenna Hayes, Courtney Combs is my favorite. I met Jenna Jameson, which is funny, and I won't go too much into it. I have a picture with me and Jenna Jameson when I was 18. It's on my Facebook page, and it's me wearing a RMG hooded sweatshirt. So that's all.
That was back when you were immature.
Yeah, that's back when I made some bad decisions with my life, with my with my love life and what I listened to on the way to school. But it's like I got a chance to meet these girls and stuff, and it's like, oh, like I'll see them and I'm like, hey, I met you. Like Carmen Luvana was another great one, and I don't know.
You know what's sad? I know every single one of them. Like, it's weird how we can't remember anything in school, but you can name off Courtney Combs, Lisa Ann, Tori Black. Like, it's almost sad how guys pretend they don't know about porn, but deep down we're all a bunch of freaks.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know what the great thing was? And this changed my life. Was when I was 19, I was working for an internet radio station. And it was right around this time that I got a chance to interview Mr. Skin. And we had Mr. Skin on the show, and he was doing the Anatomy Awards. He was promoting the Anatomy, not the Academy Awards, but the Anatomy Awards. And got a chance to go on there. And when we got the interview hooked up, they sent me a password to the Mr. Skin website, a lifetime membership. And my cock has not been the same ever since.
Dude, I love when Mr. Skin's on the radio, especially on like Kelta Show. He inspires you to learn about nude women. Like he's like a professor on it. Like most people see nude women as like objects, but the way he breaks it down, dude, it's like that man is a genius.
Yeah, at the 56-minute mark, you get to see a little bit of her butt crack and a little bit of her, right boob. It's amazing. But got a chance to interview him a bunch of times on the show, and it was great. Got the lifetime membership. Well, one time they were doing their terms of service, and they were kind of changing it, and you had to like reinsert your password or whatever. And I didn't know that, and I got a text from a friend of mine saying, "Hey, what's the password again for Mr. Skin? I'm just wondering. I just wanted to just research or something." And I'm like, it's the same. I went back and re-uploaded it. So I think I gave the Mr. Skin password to too many people, and you saw the trickle down effect. What's the password? And it's like, Jesus, you're already jerking off at 7:30 in the morning.
Dude, it's weird how like porn is just a weird thing, man. Like it just puts this idea in your head that that's how women work. Like I was always rejected by women my whole life because I'm a bit awkward. Who knew? So like
you're like a Frankenstein, for Christ's sake. You're like 6'6". You probably
6'8".
got a big schwanz on you.
I do. Go on.
I'm just stating what I assumed.
Well, I mean, I will say this. I've had sex with 4 girls, and they all said they liked it, and they didn't just say that. They were like, okay, here's the weird part.
Did you bottom out?
What does that mean?
It's when they go all the way to you hit the back wall and they go, oh, you're too deep. And then you get to pump your fist when you turn them over and just go, yeah, I am too deep. You like that shit?
No, I have not done that yet. Do you want to hear something so sad about my sex life, dude? Are you ready? I can't focus. When I lost my V card in Cleveland, the way I climaxed was when the girl went south of the border on me after she climaxed during sex, because I kept thinking about my favorite episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And when I had sex out here, the same thing happened. There's something with my nerves and how I'm a hyper person. I cannot climax during intercourse. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's my meds I take, but I can only climax during oral servicing. I don't know what that is, dude, but it needs to get addressed. I'm going to talk to my...
No, it doesn't need to get addressed. At least you don't have to worry about getting a girl pregnant. But you get off to thinking about Adult Swim cartoons. Like if you watched Robot Chicken or something and thought about, oh yes, yeah. I never would have thought I would have gotten off to watching Meatwad and some other Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
I didn't say I get off to them. I'm just saying I remember we're doing the act on my bed, and I just remember I couldn't focus, and I just began thinking about Meatwad, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm having sex with a girl right now, and like she enjoyed it. But I just remember I was like, why am I thinking about Aqua Teen Hunger Force? It's because of my mind, dude. Like, I'm always racing in my mind. Like, whenever I'm driving in traffic, dude, I wish there was a way you could record people's thoughts. Dude, my mind goes a mile a minute. The only time I'm ever focused is when I'm on air or when I'm watching porn. I mean, I literally am always thinking of something. I just got this weird ADHD, dude.
Well, I mean, like, I would think of, like, Adult Swim when I'm trying not to count. Like, it's the old adage. It's like you're thinking of baseball. But what I would do is I would go even further. Because I'd start thinking of baseball scores. Like, let's see, I think the Marlins played the Reds today. And let's see, Johnny Cueto was on the mound. And I think he had 7 shutout innings, but then the bullpen kind of gave it up. No! Don't think about Aroldis Chapman. Don't do that. I mean, I don't know. I'm talking on my shtucky right now. So.
Yeah, man, it's weird, dude. I got to get that fixed, dude. And now, I'm very awkward when it comes to girls. I'm always thinking about what I want to say next, and I'm not doing an interview with them. Like, I'm decent at interviews. I keep getting better every time I have someone on. But what do I need to do to be natural around them? You're Tony Mazur. You pull in so much. Dude, what do I need to do?
I wish I had the answer. I had such a bad... I didn't get laid for 6 months last year, and it was a brutal stretch. It was a brutal, like, swing and a miss. I think I even went to a strip club, and I went too late in the night, and I actually went to a strip club and did not see any titties in there. So it was not a good situation. But no, I don't pull in any tail. I have a girlfriend right now, and it's like, all right, why not? That's about it.
How does she do?
I don't remember it. I don't remember the last time that's happened.
You guys are basically married then.
Yeah, I'm goody. See, the thing is, I've always been a relationship guy. Like, I've always been the guy who's in long-term relationships, like, way too long. I was in a 5-year relationship that was about 6 years too long. And it really was, God. So no, I don't know. I don't have any advice for you to, I don't know, meet girls. I guess I don't know. I think Bill Cosby had a pretty good lead on that thing. Was it Bill Cosby up to like 35 or 40 women or something like that?
And now he's suing them. Like, what the hell, dude?
Well, exactly. 30 or 40 women. That's what Bill Cosby likes to call a raper's dozen. That's it. I'll be here all week.
Dude, it's amazing how, like, We used to think he was respectable. I never liked his comedy or his show, but you never would assume that he was just raping women with quaaludes left and right.
Well, you got quaaludes. First of all, who gets quaaludes? Like they said he was getting quaaludes in 2005. Who after 1982 had quaaludes?
I know, right?
Like, what did he do? He put them in her mouth and made her wash it down with New Coke? That's for you 80s people, ladies and germs. But I don't know. All I know is I love making Bill Cosby jokes on stage any chance I get. And I've done shows in front of black audiences who love it. Like you would think, like that was kind of one of the. I think even black people have given up on Bill Cosby. Like they hung on to OJ for a while and R. Kelly, but there are certain ones black people kind of stick around with. I think they're done with Bill Cosby as well.
Everybody seems to forget about R. Kelly pissing on that girl. I think it was because it was before social media. It happened in the early 2000s. It ended like in the mid 2000s. If that came out now, dude, that would be all over TMZ. We seem to forget how much of a pedophile he is.
Well, not only that, but before Bump and Grind, wasn't he? He was married to Aaliyah, and Aaliyah was 15. He was with Aaliyah. Nobody said anything about that.
And nobody talks about Paul Walker. Paul Walker, rest his soul, is an awful actor who's now good because he's dead. And then he was with like a 17-year-old. But he's a saint, Tony. Let's go ordain him into the Catholic Church. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. Ridiculous.
I love doing the Paul Walker stuff anytime in my act. Because people really did not like. Man, what was the one joke I did? Because I like what I do in my stand-up act is I do a lot of too soon jokes, and stuff that like people are just going to go, oh. Like what I do is I try and get a reaction out of people, and I did a Paul Walker joke where I think I said something like, if you have reindeer antlers or eyelashes on the front of your car, I hope you go joyriding with Paul Walker. And people are like, oh, and it's like, really, that's too soon. That's too soon. I'm sorry. I got some great Aaliyah plane crash jokes. Don't worry, those are coming up in a few.
It's weird how everybody just gets so outraged at these comedy shows. Like I saw the Reverend Bob Levy, and everyone like brought their dates, and I'm like, why? Like you're going to get offended by Bob Levy. You know what I mean?
Now, because you've seen, like, what are some of those comics? Because you and I have like the same kind of sense of humor and people we were inspired by in radio and even stand up too. Like for example, like because I've only been doing comedy for about a year and a half. As weird as that sounds, Mr. Comedian, I've only been doing it about a year and a half, but I've gotten an opportunity to open for Bob Levy. I did, Bob Levy, Jim Florentine. I opened for a couple of times. Rich Voss, his wife Bonnie McFarlane, I opened for. The guy who played Screech on Saved by the Bell.
Nice.
So it's all those, and it's like and the thing is, when it comes to me with taking pictures with celebrities, and I'm not a huge celebrity picture taker, but the ones I do get, for the most part, like there are some that I've met Corey Feldman and Pauly Shore. They didn't inspire me. I'm just going to talk. I didn't want to Biodome and go, you know what? This has changed my life. I've never done that, but I met Corey Feldman. It was like, whatever. All right, I got a picture of Corey Feldman. But for the most part, I mean, Rich Voss, opening for Rich Voss was a dream come true. When I was 18 and listened to Opie and Anthony, and I'm like, boy, this guy's so funny. And I'm watching his old clips on YouTube, and I'm just laughing and laughing. And then fast forward less than 9 years later, I get a chance to open a couple of shows with them, and it really was a dream come true. And like I said, with Florentine, I actually opened for Florentine and Voss in the same week. So it was it really was. It's been a great thing doing this comedy stuff, and I'm still trying to do a little bit more. But it's all about who you're inspired by. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that, and they just go through the motions, especially a lot of us, a lot of fellow radio people, and they just go, oh, well, I'm waking up in the morning, I'm doing this. It's like, would you, if you're a comedian or if you're a radio guy, the ultimate question to ask, it should be the number one question is, would you listen to your show or would you listen to your act? And would you find it funny? Would you find it entertaining? And if the answer is no to any of those questions, why are you doing this?
Yeah, man, I think we are going to see, and I love this word, dude, that the media has made, the millennials. I can't wait to see what they will bring to radio because I'm so passionate about it that I want to sort of lead the way just because I want to make it so badly. I'm not even trying to come off cocky. It's just I want to be the name that represents this, and I want you to be the comedian that represents this because so many people our age, dude, so many people our age are so offended by everything, dude. Coffee cups, Donald Trump. And it's like, I feel like we're the only millennials that aren't offended, dude. We're the only guys that speak our mind. Like, I feel like we should have been born in the 70s and we would have been successful by our age. You know what I mean?
Well, I think millennials are offended by everything because think about this. I mean, look at the hippies of the 60s. They're the people that are right now about 65, 70 years old. They're old hippies. They're old, they've all been very liberal, but, this is just what it is. It's not even political. It's just you're very liberal when you're younger, and then you get a little more conservative as you get older in terms of the world. I mean, the world's always changing. And the problem is, with our generation, the millennials, they want the world changed completely. Think about this, and I always think about this when it comes to people getting offended. What are the things that offend us right now? Are we offended by the graphic sex and the graphic sex talk that's in movies and TV shows? No, not at all. Are we offended by just pick just anything like language. Like if we hear something slip and it's like, oh, like at one time people would be upset by that. Not anymore. We say colorful language and whatever, and we drop it, and we shouldn't have any. We shouldn't be offended by somebody putting a crucifix in a jar of urine, and we call that art. That's fine. What does offend us in our society are things that were commonplace 40 years ago, even 30 years ago, but let's go 1975 here. By saying, if you overheard somebody say the word colored, talking about a black person, in 1975, you probably wouldn't think two things about it. You go, okay, that person's probably from a different generation. Nowadays, it's, we need to boycott. Even if it's my grandmother, I cannot talk to my grandmother if she's racist. Other things that, like, I mean, in 1975, if you even heard anything about someone who was transgender or gay marriage or gay people adopting children, that was taboo at that time, and you didn't hear that. Nowadays, commonplace. But what does offend us are things that weren't offensive 40 years ago, that we just, accepted. And we're all offended by what Donald Trump says. Well, if Donald Trump were a politician in the 60s and 70s, he'd probably get a good opportunity to get elected. I'm just telling you that right now.
I'm not a big fan of him, dude. He scares me, man.
Oh, I love him. And see, here's the thing why I like Donald Trump. And it's not because of what he says. Because for being someone who's in comedy or radio, I would think any person in the media would want Donald Trump to be elected. And I think that's why he gets as much publicity as he does, because he's a lightning rod. I don't agree with, most of the stuff he says politically, but what happens is when you take yourself out of it, think about this, we're two white males. We're on Donald Trump's side. We're like, these are like Donald Trump can't say anything that would offend us. So like, we're not black, we're not Mexican, we're not Muslim or from Syria or from Iran, nothing like that. We're in his demographic. So I don't have to get emotionally involved. If I get emotionally involved, it means I'm worried about things that don't concern me, which is what, of course, every millennial does. When you step back and listen to what Donald Trump is saying, it sounds so absurd, but it's entertaining as all hell. It is like if you had this guy as your president, I mean, it's like every day is Christmas if you're in the media. I mean, think about this. You're on a Cowhead show or whatever, Mike Calta show. Think every day it's just a new Donald Trump quote. President Trump said this, and President Trump offended this world leader. It's every day would be hilarious. So when you break the media fourth wall with this, the media are just as much scumbags as Donald Trump is.
Oh, the media is the worst, dude. The media is, like Fox News is utter trash, dude.
Well, it's I was watching O'Reilly earlier. I always like getting the different side. Like I'll watch Fox and I'll listen to like Rush Limbaugh, and see, that's another thing. Someone like Rush, you don't have to agree with him, but you have to understand what a great communicator he is, and for being a fantastic radio guy. He can say something and it's going to get it's going to get half the country riled up. But he knows he's just a radio guy who's on for 3 hours a day. I mean, how great is that? Like, what kind of job is that where you get paid 9 figures a year to offend half the country, and you get paid even more so for doing that? What a great gig that is.
I mean, people get so mad by what he says, and it's like he lives off of the hate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People don't seem to get that.
No, of course not. But that's just for me, it's a losing battle. That's why I don't talk about politics or religion or anything on social media, because people have their high horse and they have their opinions. And that's fine. You can have them, but don't attack me for coming with an opinion. The problem is that's what it is. It's not, oh, well, we agree to disagree. It's, no, you're wrong. No, what do you mean? I'm bringing up my opinion. And they're like, yeah, your opinion is wrong. Well, when did this happen? The problem is on social media, we have things called the block button and the unfollow button. And what those are for is you have speech that I disagree with, so I'm going to block you. Well, wouldn't that be a great world if we can just associate ourselves with people we just agree with all the time? I mean, half my timeline, there are a bunch of people who I disagree with politically or disagree with on social issues or what have you, but I keep them around because they have good conversation. But there are people who, well, he said he likes Donald Trump, so I'm going to block him. Okay, what are you accomplishing other than you're just a closed-minded, like-minded douche canoe, I guess?
Yeah, it's just weird how anybody our age, I think it comes with us getting trophies for anything we ever did. It's just we're so uptight, and kids our age, we didn't grow up on Opie and Anthony or Howard unless we were radio geeks like us. So it's just everything's so cliche and boring now with kids our age. I mean, we want to watch The Challenge on MTV, not the news. You know what I mean? Like, our way to contribute to world issues is to change our picture to the Paris. Like, oh, come on. Like, you're not going to give a link to Red Cross. It's when you change it to Paris. Like, it's just, we're dumb, dude.
Well, these are the people that dumped a bucket of ice water on their head for ALS. And that's like, you don't know if I donated to ALS. I didn't have to publicly tell people. I mean, it's the same people who do things for charity. That it's, they just want to be seen. It's like, hey, look at me. I just really, I did this thing, and it's so great. I feel so good about myself. I worked in a soup kitchen today, and all those poor homeless people. And it's like, it's not about you. It's not about how good you feel. You should be doing things for good things for people. I don't have to broadcast to people that I'm working in a soup kitchen or I gave $1 to a homeless guy or whatever. It's just common sense. The problem is in social media, everybody needs to publicly tell everybody else what a better person they are. Well, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. You just donated $1. I donated $2. How about them apples? It's like, you know what? Screw you. Jesus.
Here's what I love. I love the douchebags that are overcompensating for never doing anything in their life. So then they lose weight. Good job. But then they have to broadcast online their workouts, or they have to tell us about their supplements. There is nothing that gives me more douche chills, bro, than anybody who brags or breaks down their workout online. It's like, get the hell out of here, dude.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, though. It's like, especially for girls, it's like girls will either do two things when they have an Instagram page or Facebook. If they're at the gym and taking pictures of themselves in the mirror and how much weight they've lost and what they're doing, and maybe even goes up to deadlifts and all in CrossFit and all this other bullshit that's going on, it's either that, or when you see a girl who posts 10,000 dog pictures a day. She's so the opposite way. So every time, I know this one girl. I'm not gonna mention her name. She won't even be listening anyways. But every time I can tell she gained more weight is when she puts an entire album of what her dog did in the backyard. And it's like, oh, that's another 10 pounds right there. And then I see her drinking or whatever, and then more dog pictures when she gets home. I'm like, oh, that's another 5 pounds. Just add that to the list.
Or the girls that take like a selfie in their room and then they have some like quote that they took off a Tumblr, and it's like, appreciate each moment that you are given. Life is special. Go outside. See the blue skies. It's like, bitch, all you're doing is showing your DNA. What is this about?
Well, yeah, and they have this quote that's on their chest. Like, what is with girls, like, especially like your age and like younger, that are getting these tattoos from their clavicle all the way down to their cleavage, and it's like some stupid fake Marilyn Monroe quote. Like, Marilyn Monroe is just a fall-down drunk and drug addict, but we're all just going to say she had all these brilliant, she had this wit about her. And that's like, well, maybe if she used some of that wit, she would have probably stayed off the smack and would have still been alive. And it's like, oh, there's my quote. What's it? Live, laugh, love. Oh, well, that's nice. I'm glad you tattooed that on your chest. How about you put "I'm a cunt" right over on your ankle? I've been drinking. That's why I was.
Dude, what I love is the people, like the swagged out guys, that will have a meme and it's the most smart quote you've seen all day. But then you look and it has Drake or Wiz Khalifa or Mac Miller, and we're supposed to believe that they're the ones that came up with that.
No, it's actually been proven that there's a few guys from, I think it's like Sweden, who actually write all the pop songs in America, like all for Taylor Swift, like come up with the melodies, come up with the lyrics. Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Katy Perry, Future. I think Bruno Mars had a couple, and Mark Ronson, and some of these other like newer acts. What's the name? The Weeknd. They're all written by a couple of white guys from Sweden, and then we all act like they're a bunch of hard asses. It's like it's not the case. But I don't know. That's why I don't listen to pop music, and I try not to get too wrapped up in what these pop singers do and the Kardashians and everything.
Ugh.
And it's like, hey, you know what? This is what I'll say about Donald Trump. It's taken the pressure off the Kardashians. It's taken the news spotlight off the Kardashians.
Good. I hate those whores.
We haven't heard anything about Caitlyn, don't call me Bruce Jenner at all. We haven't heard about him or her, it or whatever it is in the last couple of months now. It's because we're all talking about Donald Trump. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Dude, I hate the Kardashians, man. They represent idiocracy. Like, I know it's easy radio to just hate those whores, but I cannot explain how much they anger me.
I don't even pay attention to them. I literally, I think I scrapped a couple of loads to her sex tape at one time, and then after that, it's just like
it's the worst tape, dude. That is such a bad tape. It's ridiculous.
It's not good. No, it was clearly set up, and it wasn't even sexy. It's like just do the Paris Hilton thing. At least she was a good egg at that time. She was looking into the camera, and she was just sucking that guy's dick, swallowing, shooting the cum all over his face. By the way, I work at a news talk station, and I'm talking about coming all over and jerking off and everything. That's gonna be nice. And my boss is gonna call me in and say, "So wait, we heard this podcast out of somebody from Tampa, and you used the word cunt once, and I think you said cum about 8 times. care to explain yourself? And it's like, well, I'm available for kids' parties.
You would go out with a bang. No pun intended.
Boy, would I.
Before I let you go, dude, because you're very funny, you're up and coming, and you're in your 20s, so everyone needs to look out for good old Tony Mazur of Cleveland. Where can they find your work online, dude?
You can find me on Twitter at Tony Mazur, TonyMazur. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I don't have my own website because I'm cheap, and I really don't have anything I would like to post on a website anyways.
You should do a podcast.
Yeah, I could do a podcast like every other comedian who's out there who's like, dude, let's do a podcast. You know what's funny is a lot of comics, they hate waking up and doing morning radio. Like when we had Jimmy J.J. Walker in studio the other day, who was great. He was the guy who played J.J. on Good Times. He came on up, and he was just like, oh, groggy, he's tired and everything. And it's like, dude, we don't need you. You need us. And it's funny, all these comics that hate doing radio and waking up, and they're like, oh, I hate doing the yuck hour at the 8 o'clock funnies on the morning radio show. It's like, but you're the same one doing a podcast. And they don't understand how difficult it is doing radio and actually being entertaining. What do you think you're going to do? Crack open, you have your USB mic and you bring up Audacity and you start talking into it. You got to be entertaining. You got to do something. So any of these comedians who have podcasts, don't be upset when I don't want to do radio today. Well, big deal. Every comic has a podcast now. I'm tired of it.
Keep up the good work. I wish I was in Cleveland so I could see some of your shows, but keep kicking ass, dude. I love your tweets. You speak your mind and you don't give a crap.
Well, I'll be down in Tampa sometime next year, so I'll have to do a Hoppe Hour live.
When you come down, let's go get turned up like all the cool kids say in downtown Tampa. Have you sit in on Hoppe Hour, and I will for sure see your show. Sounds good?
We'll have to go to Hooters first.
Sounds good, man. And then we'll just check out the girls while eating some wings. Does that sound like a plan, dude?
I'll get my Red Wings, that's for sure.
Sounds good, bro. Have a good night, man.
All right, see you, man.
All right, peace.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.
This is an official broadcast of Hoppe Radio. For more info, check out hopperadio.com and hoppesworld.com.